gonna make some videos. Wish me luck. See y'all then.
Welcome to WebWorks. Good morrow, students. Let's take a carriage ride through the 13 colonies. Directions. Watch the video and complete the graphic organizer as you travel through the 13 British colonies. Write what you see and hear in each place we go along the way. Write a journal entry and add a picture to the entry at each city. The New England colonies. We'll start in New England and travel south all the way to Georgia. New England colonies. Geography. Take notes in your geographic features section of your graphic organizer. White mountains in New England. New England has many geological features. There are rocky coastlines along the Atlantic, harbors, coastal lowlands, and uplands. The many capes, bays, lakes, wetlands, and rivers support the fishing industry. New England also boasts the Appalachian Mountains and Connecticut River Valley. Soil. Soil in New England is quite rocky, hilly, and shallow. There is also a lot of erosion in this area because of rain and nearness to the coast. This makes farming challenging in New England colonies. The land in New England was shaped by glaciers. During the Ice Age, thick sheets of ice cut through the mountains. Glaciers pushed rocks, rich soil south. A thin layer of rocky dirt was left. Crops did not grow well in the rocky, sandy soil. Forests and hills made it hard to farm. In New England, the summers were warm, but the winters were long and cold. The growing season was only about 5 months long. Colonists in New England used other natural resources to make a living. They cut down trees to make buildings and boats. They caught fish and whales for food and other products. Fall foliage in Vermont. The New England climate has 4 distinct seasons. There is a cold, snowy winter, hot summer, and lots of precipitation all year long. The climate of New England varies from northern Maine to southern Connecticut. In this region, the winters are long, cold, and heavy snow is common. The summer's months are moderately warm, though summer is rather short and rainfall is spread throughout the year. During the Ice Age, large glaciers scraped away all the fertile soil and moved it south to the middle colonies. This left a rocky landscape that made farming difficult. In addition, there was a short growing season, which meant that farmers usually could only grow enough crops to feed their own families. Mount Katahdin, Maine. New England has long, rolling hills, mountains, and jagged coastlines. The coast of the region, extending from the southwestern Connecticut region to the northeastern Maine region, is dotted with lakes, hills, marshes and wetlands, and sandy beaches. Let's recap. What did you write down? Let's check your notes. For geographic features, you should have the White Mountains, rocky coastlines, poor soil, capes, bays, lakes, rivers, the Appalachian Mountains, Connecticut River Valley. You should also have information for climate. New England colonies. History. The founders of the New England colonies had an entirely different mission from Jamestown settlers. Although money was still a goal of the New England settlers, their true goal was spiritual. Fed up with the ceremonial Church of England, pilgrims wanted religious freedom. The history of the New England colonies is tied to religious freedom. Pilgrims and Puritans came to the New England colonies so they would have their own church. Signing of the Mayflower Compact, 1620, a painting by John Leon Jerome Ferris in 1899. Pilgrims agreed to govern together in the Mayflower Compact. The landing of the Pilgrims at Plymouth, Massachusetts, December 22nd, 1620, published by Currier and Ives. The Pilgrims came to the New England colonies in 1620. They wanted the right to follow their own religious beliefs. The King of England would not let them have their own church, so they were forced to leave for the American colonies. The First Thanksgiving at Plymouth by Jeanie A. Brownscombe in 1914. The arrival of the Pilgrims and Puritans brought new Thanksgiving traditions to the American scene. Today's National Thanksgiving celebration is a blend of two traditions: the New England custom of rejoicing after a successful harvest, based on ancient English harvest festivals, and the Puritan Thanksgiving, a solemn religious observance combining prayer and fasting. Shortly after the Pilgrims settled in Plymouth Rock, another group of people looking for religious freedom left England. They were called Puritans. They settled in the Massachusetts Bay Colony, the first colony known as New England. Puritans also had self-government. This meant that they made laws and rules for themselves. Their government was based on religion. An example of this is that only male church members could vote or serve in the government. Rhode Island. Some people in Massachusetts disliked the Puritan leaders' beliefs. Therefore, those people either moved out of Massachusetts by themselves or were banished. This type of person was called a dissenter. Among these few people was Roger Williams. He wanted more religious freedom. In 1636, William founded Rhode Island, a settlement where every person could worship freely. Another person, Anne Hutchinson, was banished because she taught men about religion. Puritan leaders believed that only men could teach about religion. Women couldn't. She moved out of Massachusetts and joined Williams in Rhode Island. Connecticut. A minister named Thomas Hooker longed for a place where all men could vote. He led about 100 colonists to the Connecticut River, where Hartford was founded. This later grew to be the state of Connecticut. New Hampshire. Other people that were following Hooker's group moved north and founded present-day Hartford. Another important person, John Mason, followed by two groups of English settlers, arrived in the new area that was named New Hampshire. It took up present-day New Hampshire and present-day Vermont. It was named after John Mason's hometown of Hampshire. History notes. What did you write down? Let's check your notes. Whaling in small wooden boats with hand harpoons was a hazardous enterprise, even when hunting the right whale. New England colonies, economy. Shipping scene in Salem, Massachusetts, a shipping hub in the 1770s. Life in the New England colonies. Most of the people in New England were almost completely dependent upon their natural resources. They had many small farms, although many people had other occupations. This was because of the poor soil that made farming difficult. Instead of farming, many people made businesses from the environment. From the water, they got fish. Using the forest, they built homes and ships. Boston was one of the most significant cities for shipbuilding. There was much trade between New England and other countries such as England. New England sent useful resources such as fish and lumber to Africa, England, and the West Indies. In return, they brought slaves from Africa. Many people got their income from slaves working in shops in this way. Lumber was an important resource for this region. Corwin House, Salem, Massachusetts. Built around 1660. Colonists' homes were very plain. They had a fireplace, a simple couch, and they had a table where they ate. Many families slept near the fireplace to keep warm in the winter. A few wealthy families had two-story homes. Men and boys farmed and did work that required physical power, while women and girls did most of the housework, which included cooking, food, making rice, washing clothes, making clothes, planting, and harvesting. What did you write down? Let's check your notes. Welcome to Boston. Please exit the carriage carefully. Read about Boston, then write a journal summarizing what you've learned. Don't forget to take a picture. Life in the New England colonies. The rocky coastal geography of New England caused it to develop as a commercial and industrial region. The land and climate didn't support large scale farming. Natural harbors made fishing, shipping, and shipbuilding profitable. Fast moving rivers ran mills and machinery to manufacture goods. A strong working class developed in New England. Families immigrated to the area, and 90% of them lived in or near small villages along the rivers. Homes and businesses were built in rings around a common building. Woodlands and pasture lands for livestock were often shared. Since New England farms were fairly small, homes were pretty close together. This neighborly design encouraged businesses and made community schools practical. New England was the first region in which public education appeared, but the most important aspect of community life may have been the town meeting, held in the common building. These provided an opportunity for townsmen to voice their concerns and interests. In New England, women enjoyed a higher social standing than they had in Europe. All women were educated, some since everyone needed to study the Bible. Women were allowed to cast their husband's vote at town meetings if he were absent. Salem witch trials. The Puritan Church continued to influence government and daily life in the colony. The church controlled almost all aspects of their life. In 1692, a few teenage girls in Salem, Massachusetts, a small town north of Boston, came to the attention of the church due to their disturbing behavior. The girls blamed their troublesome behavior on an enslaved woman who they claimed practiced witchcraft. Soon, fingers were pointed at other people as well. Over the next year, 150 people were arrested on suspicion of witchcraft, a crime punishable by death. In the end, 19 people were executed for witchcraft and worshiping the devil in Salem, and at least five more died in prison. Just as quickly as the panic began, the Salem witch trials came to an end. In 1711, several people admitted to lying, and the colony restored property taken from the accused families. Education. In the New England colonies, the Puritans built their society around the teachings of the Bible. The Puritans valued education because they believed that Satan was keeping those who couldn't read from the Bible's lessons. According to the American Colonial Gazette, a newspaper in New England, 2 of every 3 Puritan men and 1 of every 3 Puritan women could sign their names. This was an acceptable standard of literacy for them at the time. Many young Puritan boys, ages 6 to 8, learned reading, spelling, and prayers at a dame school. A dame school was run very much like a home daycare. Later, the boys went on to Latin grammar school to prepare for college. After college, boys entered religious or political careers, or they trained in a trade. Girls who went to dame school usually continued their education at home in household skills. New England was also the home of the very first college in the colonies. Harvard University was founded in Cambridge, near Boston, in 1636. Government. The first document for governing the colonies originated outside of the Plymouth colony. The Mayflower Compact was an agreement between all of the male passengers on the Mayflower, agreeing to follow the compact's rules to ensure their own survival. American democracy began in Boston. When the Puritans landed on the shores of Massachusetts Bay in 1630, they started a tiny town they named Boston after the patron saint of travelers. The Puritans came in search of religious freedom and the belief that individual voices should be heard. The Puritans found the new freedoms they were seeking and discovered something else as well. The people of Boston realized that people deserved to have a say in how they were governed. They created the town meeting. Every man had a voice. Town meetings made Boston the most democratic place in the British Empire and set the stage for the American Revolution. After the Revolution, this idea of local control led to the Massachusetts Constitution of 1780, which provided powers to create a government of laws and not of men. This document served as a model for the U.S. Constitution. British colonies in North America originally consisted of many religious groups who had suffered persecution in Europe. These people came to North America to practice their religions freely. Since the colonists were across the Atlantic Ocean from Great Britain, many times Great Britain didn't pay much attention to these colonies and allowed them to develop with little interference. This is called salutary neglect. As a result of salutary neglect, these religious-based groups started setting up their own forms of government. In 1620, the Pilgrims aboard the Mayflower wrote the Mayflower Compact, since they were going ashore in an area without any pre-existing governments. Colonies held town meetings with representatives that made decisions for their communities. Most of these groups believed that only males who were in good standing with their church could represent wisely. Many of the beliefs and values of these religious groups were incorporated into local government. Thomas Hooker championed the idea that all male Christians should have the ability to vote on decisions that impacted their own community. Hooker's Connecticut colony of Hartford wrote the Fundamental Orders of Connecticut in 1639, which was the first written constitution in North America. This constitution was the first to support the idea of consent of the governed, which has become a foundation in American values. Please check your answers. it's time to write your journal entry. Complete this assignment in Google Classroom under Exit Ticket, New England Colonies. Return to 11 minutes 50 seconds in this video to rewatch our stop in Boston. Then write an entry in your journal. Don't forget, copy and paste your notes for the New England Colonies into your Unit 1 digital notebook.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe.